Why are Victorian police helping Israel-hating mobs chase Jews out of their own city? With Israel now at war with Iran, some Jews went into Melbourne the other day to Spring Street to show Israel some support. But the police said, wait a minute, there's some anti-Israel protesters coming and they seem threatening. They might attack these Jews.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask if you guys can move away from the area. What I need you to do is I'm going to give you some boundaries you need you to move to at this stage for your safety, for the public safety, for everyone's safety, including police safety.
Police then warned they could arrest the innocent Jewish protesters instead of warning that they could arrest any of the anti-Israel protesters who threatened to assault them.
If you refuse to move, you will be detained or restrained for as long as necessary to remove you from the area. Do you understand?
If they decided to breach the line, we could not stop them and we could not protect them.
Getting more notice.
But come on, move on.
Why don't you just remove the aggressors?
Yeah.
Remove the aggressors.
We all know.
Well, do your job. Do your job, remove the aggression.
Thanks to Avi Yemeni of Rebel News for that footage. Joining me are Caroline Di Russo, commentator and president of the West Australian Liberals, and Freya Leach from Sky News, The Late Debate. Look, I'm just astonished by this. Caroline, what do you make of that kind of police? Is it fair enough? I mean, police can't handle a big mob, so, you know, put the bait away, so to speak. And some of the police are women, so the Jews have to get out. Does that make any sense to you?
Makes absolutely no sense to me. The only thing that I can say is, well, at least they've been consistent. The fact of the matter is, Andrew, if you're going, like, we're allowed to protest. There's a right to peaceful protest. The rules need to be applied equally to everyone. And the point that the gentleman made right at the end of the video, what about dealing with the aggressors? Well, that's actually the pertinent point here. So why is it a problem if people are peacefully protesting that may require extra police resources to deal with people who are being aggressive? Now, Andrew, this is not the first anti-Israel protest that has hit Melbourne. They have been happening on a very regular basis since October 7. But I don't understand, and I still cannot believe that police are still trying to justify, you know, this sort of protection or acceptance or tolerance of this aggressive behaviour, and everyone else needs to move out of the way to kind of, you know, to as I said before, tolerate it. That there has to stop. It needs to be consistent for everyone. The same rules apply, and if you are being aggressive, well, you're the people who need to be dealt with. Bring in more resources. We know they're there when the police really want to use them.
Freya Leach, what do you make of this?
I think this is absolutely scandalous. The police are essentially admitting that they have lost control of the streets of Melbourne, so much so that they need to send Jewish people away. But this is the thing, if the police can't guarantee the safety of Jewish Australians, don't think they'll be able to guarantee your safety either. This is absolutely insane that the police are admitting that if the pro-Palestinian mob charged at them, they wouldn't be able to stop them. Either that's gross incompetence or they're choosing not to uphold Jewish people's rights to freely walk around their own city with an Israeli flag.
Now, I've got to say, Caroline, none of the, I don't know if any of those protesters, those pro-Palestinian ones, anti-Israel ones, would have done anything at all to those people. But the thing is, there's now a reputation, a label, you know, from bitter experience, that such protests very easily turn nasty and vicious and sometimes even violent. What does that say about the pro-Palestinian movement that is now seen in that light by the police themselves?
Well, like I said before, these protests have been going on a long time, so the police have obviously witnessed some of that behaviour, and they do it. And at times they're peaceful, I'm sure, but at other times they have been belligerent. But the fact of the matter is that there is a right to peaceful protest. There is not a right to harangue whoever is around you. There is not a right to be aggressive. And the problem is when you tolerate certain sorts of behaviour, the line keeps getting pushed. And this is where I think Victoria Police, and, you know, who am I to say, really? But, you know, the line needs to be drawn as to what is and isn't acceptable behaviour, and it needs to make sure that it isn't crossed, because the more poor behaviour that the police tolerate, the more that they can expect, and not just the more that they can expect, but they can expect it to escalate, and that is absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, we talked only last night about the two-tier justice system and how many Victorians in particular had no faith that people were being treated equally anymore. Freya, I'm off on holidays tonight. Now, I'm thinking, you know, home is going to be very safe. It must be the safer option, because being a tourist now around Europe last Sunday, there were big protests against tourists in Spain, in Italy, in Portugal, where tourists were being squirted with water. One protester even waved an axe. In Paris, the staff of the Louvre just shut it down, the world's busiest gallery, I think it is, saying they couldn't handle the crowds, like sniff, sniff. And if I lived in Rome right now, I've got to say I'd be sick of tourists as well. Are tourists killing the great cities of Europe? Or take the tourists... Anyway, what do you think?
Well, obviously, so in one of the cities where there was a protest, Barcelona, there are 26 million tourists every year and only 1.5 million residents. I understand in that context, you'd feel like you're just a feature at a theme park. But at the same time, tourism is propping up the economies of a lot of these Mediterranean countries, sometimes making up to 20% of their GDP. So I also think it's sort of biting the hand that feeds them. So maybe they should be looking at some of the draconian EU regulations that make it impossible to do business in other areas. Maybe then they wouldn't be so reliant on tourism, but they are reliant on tourism to prop up a lot of these economies. So I don't think they should be going out harassing tourists. Maybe they should take it up with their own government.
What do you make of it, Caroline? Because, of course, when you travel Italy, you are not a tourist. You're just a local returning. But when you see the sights in Venice or in Rome, it's just, I'd be upset as well.
No, I'm an Australian. I'm absolutely an Australian. And when they ask me where I'm from, I say Australia, and they look very confused for a moment. But I think to Freya's point, is she's absolutely right. A lot of these economies are very reliant on tourism. But like with anything, respect other people's places when you go there. So, you know, you can be a good and respectful tourist, or you can yell at people in English. And you know what, if they don't speak English, it doesn't matter how loud you yell at them, they are still not going to understand what you're saying. So I think there needs to be, you know, I think there needs to be, and listen to me, there needs to be a bit of regulation around tourism, particularly in those very heavy summer months. I know, I can't believe I just said that. In those very heavy summer months, it can get incredibly crowded. People lose their patience, both tourists and locals. But I think to the extent that people can be, you know, respectful of everyone's patch, I think it's absolutely doable, and I think it's very good for both the tourists to see places other than home, and obviously for those economies. But I think if everyone just respects a little bit more, I think they'll do okay.
When I'm seeing those stag parties in Amsterdam, I go very Dutch. I say, donder op, schiet op, rotkop. Yeah, there you go. That's it from me. I'll see you. Thank you very much, Freya and Caroline. I'll see everyone again in about 6 weeks. And until then, good night.